Good morning and welcome to Mindful Movement with AARP Alabama. We are so happy that you joined us this morning again with our very dedicated and ample certified yoga instructor, that is Becca Impello, who has been teaching and practicing yoga for more than 20 years. And don't forget, everybody, that AARP empowers people to choose how they live as they age. AARP is a nonpartisan 501c4 organization that has over 420,000 members in Alabama. AARP's role is to advocate for those 50 plus and their families. AARP is committed to offering opportunities for people to stay engaged in their homes. And it's cold here this morning. The Mindful Movement series provides an opportunity for you to keep moving in the safety of your own home.
Good morning.
Hey, Becca, good morning. Good morning. Are you warming up today?
Well, it's warmer than it has been, let's just say, and it's warmer than it is in some parts of the country.
That's true.
But we are still here in the midst of winter, so
that's right. That's right. What do you have going for us for today?
Well, Margie, I was thinking about what to do today, and I realized it's been a pretty good while since we did a session focused on balance, on physical balance. So, that's one of the things that we all want to, kind of maintain and improve as much as we can. It has a number of benefits for our, neurologic, our brain. It's got benefits for our body. And, the better we are with our balance, the less likely we are to have a slip and fall.
Right.
So that's an important thing as well. So that's what we're going to focus on today is balance.
Very good. I know I need it all the time. Please remember to check with your physician before you begin any exercise routine. You need to make sure that you are able and it is safe for you to participate. Okay, Becca, take it away.
All right, Margie. Well, like our AARP motto says, AARP is about empowering people to choose, how they live as they age. And in these sessions, I really make it a point to try to empower my viewers, my students, to choose how they're going to practice, right? Because we may all be here and have quite different levels of physical ability, different mobility, different amounts of strength, and even different amounts of balance capacity. So as we do our practice today, you're going to hear me give you lots of choices or options. So just remember, it's not important that you be able to do a certain position or pose, in kind of a most advanced or progressed way. What's important is that you try to find the right or appropriate amount of challenge for yourself. Right? And that can be different on any given day. So some of us are going to need to have a chair to sort of hold on to, something to touch from time to time, or perhaps even most of the time when we do some of our more challenging balance activities. But if it's a challenge for you, whether you're holding on some or you're not, that's the right level to work at. So I just want to remind you of that. You're empowered to choose how you do this practice. Now we're going to start seated with a little bit of warming up, and then we will do the, majority of the balance work in standing, so that we're working on standing balance or balance on our feet. All right. So let's sit tall in that chair, first of all, and let's just take a couple of breaths, right? So drop the arms down to the side. You can make a small movement with the arms or a big movement, depending on what feels okay in your shoulders. Let's inhale and raise the arms up, maybe all the way overhead, maybe something lower. Exhale all the way back down. And now as you're doing this breath, as you exhale, I especially want you to feel your feet. Bring your awareness to your feet. They're just there resting on the floor. Hopefully, maybe they're in shoes, maybe they're in socks. That's okay. But every time you exhale, imagine those feet becoming just more connected, more sensitive. Feel the ground through those feet a little bit more. I'm going to take 3 more of these big breaths. One more. Good. Now with those hands down at your sides, go ahead and just do a few circles of the wrists. Open and close the hands a couple times. And then turn the head right and left. And then let's make a semicircle with the head and neck. So bring the chin over towards one shoulder and then drop it down. Take it slowly across the chest, over to that other shoulder, and then return or reverse direction. Go across. So again, we're just loosening up. We're just warming up. We're getting in touch with, getting aware of our bodies. Notice how these movements feel. All right, chin back to the chest, lift the head up. Let's go shoulder rolls. Nice big rolls of those shoulders to get those muscles on your upper back moving. This also starts to give us some movement of the rib cage and the spine. All right, now let's bring it down to awareness of our pelvis. I want you to see if you can rock forward and back on your seat. So rock back towards the back of your hips or your back of your buttocks and then forward. You'll notice this moves your spine as well, especially the lower back. So we're loosening up both the lower back and the hips and the pelvis. Now we're going to spend a good bit of our warm-up time and awareness building on our feet and our ankles, because that's really going to hopefully help us with, being really connected to our balance activities, kind of waking up our brain to the muscles and all the joints that are in our feet and ankles that we want to be responsive when we're challenging our balance. All right, so sit up nice and tall again. Let's bring it to the hips for a little movement. Marching here in place in the chair. Try to stay up nice and tall. You can feel free to hold on to the chair to give you some support, or maybe you want to challenge yourself a little bit more and you take those arms out to the side. Then your trunk has to do a little bit more of the work of staying up tall. All right, 4 more here. Getting some blood flow into the legs. All right, now maybe you keep those arms up, maybe you drop them down. One leg, bend and straighten. Pay attention to how that knee feels. Get these joints lubricated and moving. Good. And then let's switch sides. How's that knee feel? Maybe you can compare it to the first side. All right, and then arms down if they were up. Let's move it down to the feet, all right? So as best you can, use your vision. So look at your feet some of this, time. There'll be a point where I invite you to kind of grab hold and touch your feet. So if you're able to reach your feet, that'll be something that you can do. So let's go up and down, toes up, heels up. When you pick up the fronts of the feet, the balls of the feet, try to spread out the toes. Mine are still in my socks because it's still just a little too chilly to be barefoot where I am. But try and spread those toes or wake up those toes, whatever they're encased in or if they're exposed. All right, now we're going to do a different movement. We're going to try to roll a little bit to the outside of the foot and roll a little bit to the inside. Now the knees will try to make a little bit of this movement with you, and it may be impossible to keep them absolutely still, but know that we're not doing this, kind of open and close of the thighs. We're trying to really make the movement happen at our ankles and our feet. So I'm trying to lift the pinky edges, and then I'm trying to lift the inside. So kind of rolling in and out again. We're trying to mainly here be aware. Can you feel the sensation of these movements? All right, now let's pick up one foot and point and flex. Again, pay attention to how it feels. Curl those toes and then try to spread the toes. And give it a nice big slow circle. Go the other direction, nice big slow circle. All All right, and then bring that foot down, other leg up, other foot out, point and flex. Again, pay attention with your senses. That includes, your eyes, your vision, but also just trying to really notice the sensation. Good, and then circle. And go the other way. Good. And then bring that leg down. All right. Now, so again, if you can't reach your feet, right, if it's not possible for you to get this leg up here, or get it onto something where you can touch it, then what I'd like you to do instead is to just slide your feet around and use one foot to touch the other. We're trying to just give some sensory input, right? So if you can reach your feet with your hands in any way that works for you, you could prop it up on something, you could pull it up into your lap, you could bend over, or like I said, if you can't do that reasonably, comfortably, then use the floor and use the feet with themselves. So I just want you to give it some squeeze, some stroking, some touch, right? I want you to just, maybe move the toes around, feel the arch of the foot, feel the front of the top of the foot, feel the heel. All right, we're trying to, again, like I said, we're trying to improve our brain's connection to this part of our body before we ask it to do a little bit more work. All right, now if you're doing it with your hands, make sure you're switching feet at some point. Give the other foot a few moments of touch, rub, squeeze, stroke, scratch, whatever works for you. See if there's a difference in sensation. Maybe if you've got some impaired, sensory, stuff going on in your feet, this can be a way of, again, just helping improve what you do have still connected there. All right. Now, we're going to come up to standing. All right. Now, remember what I said about having that chair for support and for safety, right? We want to stay safe as we challenge our balance. And remember, we want to get ourselves to a place where our balance is wobbly, right? The goal here is not to get somewhere where we can just stand absolutely still. Now, maybe we work towards improving that steadiness, but if you're holding absolutely still real easily, then you're not challenging your system particularly. All right, so you find the appropriate amount of challenge for yourself and stay safe. All right, so you have that chair where you can hold it. You can also get close to a wall if you want, or have something else like that to hold on to. So let's just start with some up and down, just continuing our little stimulation of the feet and the ankles. So I'm going to rise up to the balls of my feet and then drop down and rock back to the heels. All right, and again, I'll see what's the right amount of challenge for me. Do I need to keep a fingertip touching? Do I need to keep a little more hold? And can I just occasionally touch when I lose that balance a little bit? I'll be giving you different ways to find that challenge. Some of them will involve how much you hold on or touch, but others will involve, turning the head or moving the eyes or moving the rest of the body in some way. All right, let's lift up onto the balls of the feet or as high as you can and just try to hold there. So maybe you're letting go. If you're letting go and things are pretty steady, then you can challenge yourself by doing a turn of the head. It won't take much. So if you're not so steady up here on your toes, then you don't need to add the turn of the head. All right. Good. Now let's come down, take a little break, stretch, put one leg back, push into that heel, give that calf and Achilles tendon a little bit of a stretch. And then switch. All right, and then step back in, feet close together. We're going to do some things that are pretty simple simple, as far as the shape of the body. We're going to also do some things that are a little more complex, as far as the shape of the body. That's one of the ways that we can change the amount of challenge. So try and bring your feet close together, so as close as your, knees and thighs and everything will allow. So feet as close together as you can. And then again, you're choosing whether to hold on or not. Now, whether you're holding or touching or you're not holding, you can play around with the next couple of movements, all right? So I'm going to take my head and turn it right and left. And if that's pretty easy, I'm going to make more of a circle. I'm going to look sort of around. And I might speed it up a little bit. All right, now, for some people, that's a challenge, and you can stick with this and repeat it. If that was not so much of a challenge, we're going to go to tandem stance. So this is where we step one foot in front of the other, like we're on a tightrope. All right, so now we're getting a little less stable, so there might be a little more movement happening. All right, you still have the same choices, holding on, not holding on, or just having it close, turning the head. You can keep that movement of the head simple, or you can make it a little more complex, kind of looking all around or looking in sort of random directions. When I do that, I feel a lot more activity around my ankles and in my calves, my lower legs and shins. So I know that I'm demanding a little bit more of those muscles. It's certainly okay if you end up stepping out of that position for a moment. All right, let's pause and switch. So if you're doing the tandem stance, take the other foot in front. Start by just seeing what that's like. Then see if it's right for you to add some movement of the head or the gaze. It doesn't have to be the head moving. Maybe darting the eyes around a little bit is enough of a challenge for you. Again, no problem if you have to step out or you have to hold on or you have to restart. That could be a sign that you found a really, a good amount of challenge and you made your system have to really, figure something out. All right, now let's step back to facing the chair. We're going to take a more, complex or asymmetrical stance now. I'm going to step one leg back. And I'm going to try to bring these two legs closer to being on the same line, like I'm standing on a tightrope or a balance beam. Now, that makes it more challenging. So if that makes it too much for you, take your feet a little bit wider, okay? Like you're on a broader, plank instead of a narrow one, all right? But the legs are, spread apart, front to back. Front knee's a little bit bent, push into that back leg. All right, you might keep holding on, or let's try some movements of the arms this time. If you need to keep something holding on or close to the chair, you do one arm at a time. See if the eyes can follow those hands up and down. This would be one way of challenging the balance. Again, adding a little additional element there. All right, now we're gonna just hold steady. Let the arms either drop to close to the chair or at your side. And let's see what happens when we close our eyes. So closing our eyes is one of those ways that we really can challenge our balance, right? Similar to the moving the eyes around, right? So you might keep a fingertip touch or close to the chair as you try closing the eyes in this position and see what that's like. All right, let's switch sides. So open the eyes to transition. Stepping the other foot forward. Again, maybe you're going to that narrow stance like you're on a tightrope. Maybe you want something a little bit wider. All right, you have that option to hold on or to be close to that touch. If you want to try that movement of the arms and the head, it could be one arm at a time or both. right, now let the arms stay wherever you want them to stay and try closing your eyes. Remember, it's okay to touch. Maybe you decide to touch or keep a light touch while you close your eyes to, feel a little more secure. Or maybe you, close the eyes to increase that challenge. Push yourself a little bit. All right. Now open the eyes, step in. Let's use the top of the chair to give us a little stretch here before we move on. So reach back with the hips, walking those legs back, lengthening out the arms and the spine. All right. Now we're going to kind of stay in this extended position. I'm going to step one foot a little bit forward. And then I'm going to shift my weight onto that leg and lift the leg behind me. All right. So I'm leaning forward. And I'm going to see, can I get lighter on the touch of those arms? Can I bring one arm off the chair? Could I bring the other arm off the chair? Probably want to keep those eyes steady. But if you find yourself, really easy, going here, then you might turn the head or dart the eyes. All right, let's bring that leg down, touch the chair for that transition. All right, step the other leg a little bit in front, lift that leg behind you so you're leaning forward. Again, maybe you try taking the hands, one or both, off the chair. Again, there's that possibility still of turning the head or changing the gaze for more challenge. Good. And then let's bring it back to that stretch again. So hands on the chair, reach back with those hips. All right. Now, let's go back to our stance that's like being on a tightrope. And you could take your feet close together. For most folks, this is a little more challenging. You could take your feet further apart. That's going to be a little less, right? A little more stable. Again, you still have the option to not quite be on a tightrope if that's what you need, right? And then we're going to make some movements of the trunk. I'm going to turn and look behind me as far as I can, and then turn back to the front, and then turn and look the other way, and back to the front. So I can keep my hand close to that chair in case I need to grab it. Or I can hold on while I do that turning. So this turning of the trunk, shifts our weight, puts some demand on those legs and ankle muscles to keep us from falling over. All right, let's switch. So step the other leg forward. Remember, your tandem stance could be short, legs real close together, or you can have some space between them. All right, again, make sure you give yourself, the level of support and security you need, but also hopefully find the way to challenge yourself. So turning. Let's see what you notice. Are your feet and ankles sort of doing a little twitch, a little movement there, responding to the weight shift and the movement of your body? All right, good. Come back into the center. All right, now let's try some single leg stance. We already did a little bit of that with our, tipping forward, which is warrior 3 is the pose that we would call that in yoga. Let's try now to do 2 different standing leg poses, right? We'll start with what sometimes is called stork, right? So just bringing one knee up as high as you can, standing on that other leg. Again, here's your options. Hold on, some, a lot, occasional. Keep the eyes, straight ahead, or turn the head or move the gaze around. Could even try closing the eyes. That's probably the most challenging one. So make sure you feel safe enough to try that. And remember, it's okay if you have to drop your leg or you have to grab the chair. All right, open the eyes if they're closed. Let's switch sides. So simple stork pose, just lifting one knee up or one foot up off the ground, any amount. Finding out where you need to go from there. What challenges you the right amount, letting go, moving the head, maybe closing the eyes. All right, open the eyes if they're closed. Come on back. Do just a little march in place. You should be, probably feeling those feet and ankles. So I'm real aware just of the work that I've been making my feet and ankles and lower legs do. So I can sense that. I can feel some of that fatigue in those legs. Let's finish up our balance work with tree pose. This might be, a lot of people's favorite or one of their most recognized yoga poses, right? So tree pose is, again, standing on one leg. This time, instead of lifting our other leg up, we're going to try to turn that knee out. You could keep your toes on the ground if you want. You could pick that foot up, put it on the inside of your ankle. Maybe you want to bring it a little higher. Some folks might even want to bring it right up into the inner thigh, right? Depending on if that works for your hip. All right. And then we're trying to hug into the middle, right? Maybe those hands at the heart, but if you want one hand to stay on that chair, please do that. You have those same choices here. Maybe some movement of the head. If you're feeling pretty steady in tree pose, see if it's appropriate to challenge by turning the head or gazing around you. Maybe you raise those arms up. Again, just to challenge the whole stability of that, tree shape. All right, one more breath here. All right, and shake it out a little bit. Let's take it to the other side. So turn the knee out. Find out where you want to place that foot. Right, so for me, it's not as easy to bring my leg up high on this side because this hip doesn't quite like it as much. So I leave it a little lower typically. So again, you might need to keep a hand on the chair while you're practicing your tree pose, or maybe you're intermittently touching. You can take some of those other options of movement of the head or the gaze if you want. Maybe those arms up. If you're swaying around, that's a great sign, right? That's a sign that you are really challenging your balance. So remember, the goal is not to be stuck still with these poses, but to find the right stimulation to the system. All right, take it down, take a little march or a little shake out of those legs. We're almost out of time, so let's come back to seated in the chair. It'll feel nice and secure after all that standing. All right. Take a few deep breaths in. Let's raise those arms up like we did at the beginning. Exhale it out. 2 more of these big breaths. One more. Now, just rest a moment. Maybe close your eyes. Take just a moment to reflect on what was challenging for you about the practice today. Maybe the particular balance poses were challenging. Maybe there was a challenge related to something else. Like maybe this wasn't what you were hoping for. You wanted to stretch your back or stretch your neck or something, and that's not what we did. So maybe there was a challenge just for you to sort of be with the practice that's there. Take one more moment to be aware of those feet. Maybe give those toes a wiggle. And then lift the hands up to the heart. I like to end with a gesture of gratitude. Let's be grateful for the balance we have, the ways our feet and ankles work hard to keep us upright. And always thanks to AARP Alabama for giving us these opportunities to move mindfully together. We hope you'll continue to join us throughout this year on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. when we bring you our Mindful Movement series. Thanks so much for being with us today. Let us know if you have any feedback or comments. We always like to hear from you.
And thank you very much, Becca, for that very challenging session today. Something very well needed. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you again on Mindful Movement with AARP Alabama. Bye.